right here. We got Nathie here, and Nathie just kind of popped in, wasn't invited, but just was checking out
Yeah.
Altspace and happened to
Are
stumble
you
upon us.
the Nathie?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am the Nathie, yes.
And
Cool.
it's great to see you in here because actually one of the things we've been talking about lately, we started with a lot of indie devs and then started to bring more enterprise software people in here, but kind
Mhm.
of the elephant in the room is that one of the most successful business models in VR the last few years is creating 2D content. And
Uh-huh.
so I would just love to hear more about your journey of building this business. How'd you get started, and what have been kind of the most successful business strategies that you've used to grow your audience?
Okay. So I am a VR content creator on YouTube. I review hardware, I review software. I also, well, not right now. I usually travel around the world, going to America, China, everywhere I can to, explore new stuff, new VR stuff, innovative and unique things that we haven't seen before. The more niche, the better, the more interesting. The way I started was I was into video editing and also making, let's say, movies when I was younger, and then I went to school to also become an actual video editor. And while I was doing that, one of my friends invited me to check out this Oculus Rift DK1 that was popping up on the internet, and I decided to back that. And I was just interested in VR in general. Never tried it before, and then I decided to also make some videos about it because I said I was interested in video. So I combined those two and tried to, well, find out how you can show VR in a proper way in 2D and still sell it to people, and get people excited for VR. So I've been doing that for years, and when the Oculus Rift CV1 came around, and also the Vive and the PlayStation VR, that's where you saw, VR becoming, let's say, mainstream to the consumer audience, and that's where my, let's say, YouTube channel took off. That's where I also became a business, and now I'm doing it full time for like 3 years, and you can definitely see VR becoming bigger and bigger, especially now with the Quest 2 that came out. You can really see a rapid push towards making VR like mainstream across the board. So yeah, that's kind of like the short version of how I started and what
That's
I'm doing.
awesome. It's great that you've been in here since so early. It gives you, I think, a lot of perspective that not everyone has in this
Yeah.
industry. I'm curious, how has your audience, how's the kind of the nature of your audience changed as it's grown?
Hmm. So you first have an audience that is more, let's say, early adopter who's interested in new tech and wants to invest into that, and with a lot of money. So people who are, mainly interested in tech that takes some time to set up. Nothing easy. Well, nowadays, what you see is an audience who is a consumer who wants the cheapest, but also wants something that is easy to set up, and that's something you didn't see before. So you go from a very niche audience to now the average Joe, and you can see it with the prices dropping, like the Quest 2 now. You can see an audience coming up that is getting younger and younger, and also more, let's say, average than before. So the consumer level, like the entry level, becomes lower, with the price, and it's very interesting to see that audience grow on my channel too, because now we see an extremely like high and fastly growing demand for standalone content, for standalone videos, than PCVR, because people don't identify that much with PCVR anymore, because
Hmm.
let's say 90% of the people who are now, let's say, a part of the VR community are all owning a mobile headset and not a PC VR headset. So you
Right.
see it growing and becoming different, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
When you at some point, you must have been, it must have been very exciting because you went from a point where, oh, this is something cool that I'm doing, and then at some point you realized this could probably be a real business for me. How did you
Yeah.
make that switch, and what kind of things did you do to start building it into a real business?
So it was already a business before I knew it was a
Yeah, that's a
business.
good point. Yeah, I think
Because
that there'll be an extra
I
layer on
never
top
had
of this.
the
You're
interest to
completely
become
right. Right now, if
a
you want to
content
learn
creator
Unity, it's very much
on
game
YouTube.
based
I
or
just
game
used
developer
YouTube as an
oriented.
outlet
What
to
you really want
create
is something
different
that's
videos, and
accessible to
it wasn't
people
only
who
VR
are
content,
familiar
also
with
all kinds of other
things
things that I
that
like to
exist in the
do.
real
So
world
more
and want to put
as an
things in the real
outlet, like
world,
a
which is what
hobby than
AR is all
anything
about, right?
else. And there was this point, where you saw more and more people watching videos on YouTube, especially when the PlayStation VR came out, and the Rift and the Vive. And that's where it started growing. And I had a head start because I was already doing it since the DK1. So I already had the experience, and I already had like a small audience who was supporting me. So it was actually my brother who said like, listen, you're making too much money. This needs to be a business now. Otherwise, you're gonna be in trouble. So I didn't want to make a business. I was actually like the moment I signed up, I was like, I'm losing my, let's say, my identity, because it
Mm-hmm.
felt more as a like I now need to make money instead of I'm just making videos and who the heck cares, right? But it started growing on me more and more. Now I'm like really proud of what I'm doing. I'm really proud of what we build up. Also, my brother is now working for me. He's my manager, so he's making sure that
Awesome.
well, usually when we jump into a plane, that we get to the right hotel, that we get to the right appointments, stuff like that. And it's just interesting how that grew from something that is a hobby that is now a business. But I never had the goal to, let's say, make money off VR. And now I'm using, of course, the money to invest back into VR, buying new computers, going to more places, getting to meet more developers, getting to meet more publishers or hardware manufacturers, so we can show more of what's going on in the world. So we're more of a stage for everyone who is,
Yeah, I mean, the next big
showing
step
something
in terms of
creative and
AR, I
something
think, is
new. And
whenever
we're just
Apple
using
release
that
whatever they've
in
got
our favor,
in the works,
because
they're
for us it's
clearly
like we live from the
leading
content
towards
we make.
something with the
We
release of
can't
the
just
iPhone 12 and
play
the
games
iPad with the
all week
LiDAR
and that's
scanner.
it. But you also want
They've got
to
the
really
technology.
go
They've clearly
somewhere
got something that they've not yet released.
tell
And
someone
at
like,
some point, I
listen,
guess in the
what
next
you
couple of
have
years, we'll
here
find out
is
what that
unique,
is.
and tell
But if it
everyone
is some kind of
on our
headset
channel
or some
about
kind of
it
Apple
so they can
glasses,
invest back into that.
that'll
So
open
yeah,
up
we're
all of this
always
stuff, all of the
constantly
stuff that is
using the
so
money
far
to
being
make people
in the
excited for
realms
VR, but also trying to help
yeah, go on.
others to kind of get their first head start, because our channel has an audience where a lot of people are watching who are enterprises, who are consumers. It's like everyone. So there is like maybe the consumer likes this certain product, but then there's an investor who might want to throw some money into it. So you have a full circle. So it's just nice for everyone. Yeah.
That's awesome. One question I have for you is, so each of these is a project of, someone's project in our community that they've come in and shown off, and they'll rotate kind of on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And so we interview a lot of these people, and one of the common themes for the more successful apps is they're all using Discord in really intelligent and kind of clever ways. And I'm curious, as Discord's gotten more popular, how do you see the role of Discord in your own community building efforts?
Yeah, so Discord is super important
I'm in
because
your Discord.
it's sorry.
Just saying, I'm in your Discord.
It's
Sorry.
okay.
You're in my Discord. Nice, awesome. That's great to hear because in the Discord what we have is basically like it's like a hub where everyone can come together, and everyone can just chat there. We have different, let's say, chat rooms. We have one for Quest. We have one for PCVR, stuff like that. And the thing is, we also throw keys in there for developers. So if you want to, let's say, do some, let's say, free marketing, you just throw your keys in there. We have a special like place to do that in, but it's like easy connection, because we have a lot of people in there who are planning to buy, for example, their first headset, and by saying, hey, instead of Discord, we're going to use Altspace or VRChat or Rec Room and come there. For some people, that's not possible because they don't own a headset. So Discord is free, it's accessible for everyone, and it just works with almost everyone. every app. And that's why I also hope that Discord in the future or something like Discord will just be implemented into, let's say, Steam or somewhere else. I don't know if Oculus would do it, but to have that everywhere, because it's still, as you said, it's like a 2D platform. But yeah, it's very important for, I think, everyone who builds apps or who makes a game. It's a very quick way to grow a community. Even if it's small, you can just do it quickly. So, yeah.
And you have nice integrations. You can integrate with a lot of stuff. So we're actually thinking about integrating it into VR workouts so that people can actually give you the like cheer you on if you're exercising. So you would have a message in your game, and then you would see like people saying, "Yeah, go on." And
I mean, I'm very sure we're getting to the question is.
Yeah, no, it's great for, you know, people who are creating, let's say, content and want to meet up with others. It's just a nice place. It's very, very easy. Yeah.
I'll ask you one last question, and that's just, you know, if you were speaking to someone who was basically in your shoes where you were a few years ago, you know, someone who wants to get started making, you know, a business producing content in and around VR, what advice would you give to that person?
I would say really like build up a network, try to get to know the right people, because as you said, you know, if you're starting now, it's not, you're not late to the party at all, because VR is still, you know, it's not mainstream, it's still a niche. It is getting bigger, but honestly, if you want to start now, it's just really good to know people who are, as you said, like people who started off in the early days, but also people who are starting now. And what I have been doing, I went to a lot of events, you know, to let's say, what was the E3, to Gamescom, to VRX. You also have these small places. I think around Silicon Valley is usually where the most happens, but also in but also in Europe as well. You have like VR days and things like that. But for me, that was like really important to have people to know, because they can link you to the right people again, to investors or to people who can give you a bigger, you know, audience, things like that. So yeah, that's the key, you know, get to know the people, because some people can tell you, listen, you're doing a great job, keep doing what you're doing. But you also have people like me, for example. I'm very honest. I tell you exactly what's wrong about what you're doing, because otherwise you can never improve. Because trust me, I've met a lot of people in the VR industry who are just like, yeah, you're doing great and you're, you know, it's nice, but they're just too nice to tell you what to improve. And then you're going to be stuck with that you think you're just doing the right thing. Because with VR, especially when you're making apps, it's a lot of money. You know, you can only do it right once, and otherwise you're just screwed. So just make sure you have the right people around you, and then start investing into your ideas and your, you know, don't try to do it alone.
In terms of your own improvement as a content producer, have you felt any pressure as time goes on to deliver the type of content that your audience has come to expect, instead of the type of content that you want to make yourself?
Yeah, of course. You know, for a part you have to do that, because VR isn't big enough to just go completely off track and just do whatever you want to do, because then you wouldn't be able to do it full time. Then you just do it for a hobby. So you definitely have to give the audience to a certain degree what they want. Now with the Quest 2, I think for most, and it's the same for devs, I think it's for the whole ecosystem, we make our money off Quest 2 and not PC VR necessarily. So you just have to give people what they want. So if you want to make an ambitious PC VR title, that's not smart right now. Just give people what they want and use that money maybe later to, you know, you need to have the leverage to do it, I think. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Nathie, I have a question. Hey, my question is, what's your approach on? I know you're fully focused on VR. Kind of this conversation that we had before was kind of the thinking of XR as the industry, where you have, you know, two big VR, AR. What's your approach on AR? I know that you picked up a HoloLens a few years ago. kind of I would like to know your input kind of on firstly on content creation, and secondly on B2C business models and products around AR, and because there's a lot of AR apps that have launched with ARKit, and kind of your approach on that, and have you considered creating content for for that type of technology?
Yeah, so you're right. Yeah, I bought a HoloLens and I did try to make content, but I thought it was still too basic to really show people what it was all about. I thought that the output that you would get out of a HoloLens wasn't showing what AR really was. Although with the second one, that has changed. But again, like same with VR, the audience is very small right now. I do see a future where I would be able to make VR, but also AR content on the same channel and just do that. But we're still kind of in the phone era where you use a phone to show some AR stuff, right? Or to get that portal. Well, I'm still waiting for the wearable stuff. But a HoloLens is, of course, not consumer, and the Magic Leap is not consumer. Then you have, of course, smaller ones like, what is it, Unreal, who are kind of in the middle. So when that becomes a little bit more mature, then I'm definitely ready to, let's say, make some content. But right now it's super early. It's just extremely early to even get started with that. But yeah, I am, of course, investing time into AI and seeing what's possible, because then you're, of course, ahead of yourself. And when the moment is there, you can jump into the market. And your second question, well, I can't really say that much about it because it's so new. But what I can tell you is that my brother is working on an AI thing that really looks good and is going to, I think, get used by a big company. But that's all I can say. But it's like legit stuff. So I'm getting more and more sucked into AI. So we'll see, because last year I've even been to Apple to check out some AR stuff. So I am, in the loop for sure, but in an early stage. Yeah.
Do you have any insights you can share on the Apple AR early R&D that they're working on?
No, that's not a thing yet. That's not a thing yet. Like, you need to know that right now, all the Apple products, almost every new phone has now an AR function. We're now building the baseline, the content library for AR, and when then the glasses are ready, you can just transport all of the stuff that has already been made onto the glasses, and then you already have everything ready to go. So we're now creating the beginnings of augmented reality for the consumer.
And they'll be start traveling, and they'll
And
start.
what do you think about
start doing business?
This is breaking.
No, go ahead.
Hopefully, they'll also realize they don't need to do that.
My question was around kind of your business model, kind of Nathie as a company. This concept of being a YouTuber and having a big audience, which is an ideal audience for anyone that's creating VR content. You have a direct communication line with the direct audience of any VR content. Have you considered experimenting with becoming potentially a publisher more than just a YouTuber? So you could potentially under Nathie name, you could potentially launch different apps. The concept of and publishers. Have you kind of considered that business model of Nathie becoming a publisher of VR content?
Well, I've seen like I've had multiple offers in the past of developers saying like, hey, you want to build a game with us, and also publishers. I think right now it's too early to do that. I think VR is like kind of hit and miss. If you look at what's coming out, it's all very direct. Like if you want to, let's say, make money games-wise, you make a shooter most of the time, and not a puzzle game for the, let's say, hardcore puzzlers. It's all very specific. I think if that's becoming a bit more wide, yeah, I would definitely look into that. But I wouldn't, let's say, have that as my main thing, my main income. I would become a publisher. But it is interesting for sure, because as you said, you have the leverage, so you could sell a game easier, because let's say I am the marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest leverage that you can have kind of as a publisher, is a channel to the client, and
yeah, but I don't think I don't think I would make a typical YouTuber game because I've seen a lot of content creators make, let's say, very like titles that are based on their personality. Like I would just make a proper VR title that isn't necessarily branded by me, you know.
Correct,
Because
yeah,
I don't like to be on the foreground. I just want to make a proper, you know, experience.
Do you guys
Right,
you
maybe-
code in Unity? Is that your like main? Is that where you know, or what's your like?
No, I don't.
What
I
experience
don't
do you have?
code. I'm a VR content creator on YouTube, so I make videos. I know it's kind of confusing to have the name content creator because developers use it, but we on YouTube also use it because we don't
So when
like
you say
to be.
content creator, what do you make?
Yeah.
What kind of content?
It's easy, definitely.
What's your
So I
channel?
make,
Nate is
And you move in.
so
Sorry?
Nathie is
Yeah.
one of the top VR content creators on YouTube. So he's in the top 3 content creators.
That's cool.
Of this industry.
And so what was like the general thing? Just like
Nice words. Mozilla.
Oh, I
it's-
think I
it's
may have
videos
seen
about
that. Yeah.
about hardware and software and games and stuff, and also
Okay,
you know,
cool.
things on the road. But the reason why it's called VR content creator is because we don't like to be called influencers. First of all, I think it's a very strange term. And then
Yeah.
the other term is YouTuber. Then it sounds like I'm in your mom's basement, and you can't take me serious. So you know that's why we're using the same term. So that's why we kind of hijacked VR content creator as because it sounds more, you know, clean.
Yes. It's called content creator. That's funny. Yeah. It's your channel. Called? Yeah. It's not. Yeah. Funny. It's like very specific and like general. It's like this is what I Do you do. think the I was thinking about making a Borderlands or the skit comedy Unreal- show. What's that?
Michael, were you going to ask a question?
You were talking about the AR glasses, like the Unreal, and I'm not sure if you've probably seen the photon lens ads they are putting out everywhere. Do you think those have some those have some merit, or are those fancy toys? Because I'm trying to get their attention to actually kind of partner with them for fitness stuff. And the question is if it makes sense to actually invest time into those glass or if they are too far off to thinking of.
Well, I mean, investing time into things like that is never, you know, wrong, but don't dig yourself completely into it because you don't know if they're going to succeed in the long run.
That's it.
Because again, it's all super new. Everyone seems to be able to get a piece of the AR market right now. But if they will succeed in the long run, that's the real question. So, yeah, of course, invest some time into it, but don't be like, hey, we're gonna put everything we have, everything we build up onto this one thing.
I've not seen
Because that's
my
like,
game is
before, but I think that kind of thing.
my game is free anyway, so I'm not
Okay.
making any money out of it. But I think that I mean, fitness in VR does work quite well, but I think fitness in AR would work even better. So I think that could be kind of the future for that market. Pretty funny. It works good.
yeah, true. It's just like, you know, when the consumer is ready to use something like that, and that's where you need to like pick the right platform. And I think, of course, Apple. I know Apple is huge, but that's definitely one of the cores that you need to keep an eye on. And Real too, but you know, those are like the smaller kind of fishes. It's like, you know, some devs making games for Viveport. I mean, Viveport is nice, but of course you want to publish on the Oculus Store and maybe even the Steam Store or the PlayStation one, because that's where, you know, that's where the audience is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Who are some of
currently
the,
all those classes? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. I was just curious, who are some of the creators in your same space that you like to watch on YouTube?
VR creators, you mean?
I find in
Yeah.
these events, when someone says something that's
Well, I'm a little biased because I know a lot of them personally. But like Mike is one of my best friends, Virtual Reality
Oh, cool.
Oasis. We've been hanging out a lot at different events. He also came to my place a few times. We talk almost on a weekly basis about VR, about new things that are coming out, new strategies, things like that. So he's one of the people that, you know, are very important. And next to that, I do watch some other creators too, but I usually, like, the thing is, I'm already creating videos myself, and it's like I'm trying to kind of keep my work and my like private part also a little bit like separated, because the thing is I like to watch YouTube in general, but I'm not subscribed to like tons of creators, because then I would be getting an overdose of VR there as well.
Yep.
So I don't really watch that much VR content. I do read the news. I do follow some people on Twitter, and I do check my LinkedIn from time to time. Because that's where the trends are, you know. Of course, YouTubers have certain things to upload, but in the end, they found it somewhere on the internet. So it's more the overall thing you want to take a look at then. So yeah, Mike is number one for sure.
Have you seen Lucas Risotto's new show?
Yeah, of course.
I'm
No,
a
I
big
know him
fan of
very
Lucas
well.
Risotto.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's great. It's a very new approach, and it's also cool that he has a developer background, so he creates content with the things he learned and makes videos about that. Something that we would never be able to because we're not developers, you know. So it's really nice what he's doing, but he also has the freedom to do that because he's doing whatever he likes to do. Where we do have to kind of keep in mind that we do need to pay the rent, and we do need to do this, and we do need to do that, and we want to grow on YouTube and things like that, where he is more on the creative side, you know. He is kind of this guy who puts a backpack on and he's like, okay, what are we gonna do next, you know? So yeah, no, it's fun stuff, definitely. Yeah, stands out.
I like his productions also. I think he does videos which are extremely, they take a long time to build.
Yeah.
Spends months building. I'm on his Patreon, which is also going to be on the insights, and you can see all of the work that goes into his, his production.
Yeah, he's one of the. I think he's one of the only people in the VR industry who's really like this VR nomad, you know, where he just likes to do whatever he wants. He also likes to speak his mind. If you want to hear someone speak about everything without being scared of any, let's say, company, then he's the right guy. Seriously, like it doesn't matter what you want to talk about. He's the one to really connect with for sure. Yeah.
And I started messing with that, and I started messing with.
What do you guys think about the NFT in VR?
So I'm kind of getting back
The NFTs, crypto.
and I started having some ideas.
Oh, the crypto.
Kind of world that I would like
Yeah, that's
I don't know
Those
NFT.
pictures and
You say you want to go over here and we
I think
just
it looks pretty cool, but I haven't bought any myself. I'm not a VR art collector yet, but I've seen it exists.
Yeah, there are some apps where you can buy land and stuff too. I think if they would introduce like crypto and VR chat or something, that would like blow up. That would be crazy. It would be like it would be huge for sure. Yeah.
And then what was yours? The filmmaker.
Do you spend time on VR chat? What do you see as being kind of the most popular events and social platform right now?
You mean what are the most popular VR apps?
I mean, like the most, something like this, where you can get together and hang out with other people. What do you think is the best version of that in VR?
I don't think there is the best version yet. Everyone is trying, but it's not there yet. I think Altspace is let's say Altspace is the more serious one of the apps. So you can have an event, but it's a bit more, straightforward. Where VR chat is more, hacky, so you can really change the things, make it like extremely unique, but more complicated in the end. Then you have Rec Room that some people laugh about because they're mainly kids in there, but I tell you, there are companies who are meeting up there to talk business. There are not that many, but they do use it. So you see like different kind of approaches, and of course you have all the more corporate ones where you have a subscription, right? Those are also getting used. So there are so many, but I haven't really seen any that nails everything. That nails the whole shebang of like the event style. And especially for the bigger ones, let's say we want to have Facebook Connect. Let's say we want to have like E3 in VR. Like barely any app runs like, what is it, like 30 people in one room without crashing anyone, So it's really rare, because when you talk about events, you talk about, let's say, 200-300 people at least, you know, and then also having a way to moderate that and making sure that everyone can connect. So I still think that real events are still better right now, but it starts to change because, you know, because of the pandemic, more money came in to invest into that. So we have seen a rapid growth in, you know, events that are virtual, but also people working from home in VR. So yeah, I do think that it's gonna, you know, get better and better soon.
So you've gotten a chance to check out a ton of different communities in VR, which is, I'm sure, one of the cool parts of your job. Have you come across anything else that we should check out that's doing the same kind of thing we're doing in terms of bringing together people that are trying to start businesses?
I mean, it's pretty rare, honestly. I didn't even knew there was one in here because I I was just in the lobby taking photos with this what was it, like this Christmas background, and I was like, let me just check one of these events, and then I clicked on it, and then I jumped in here. So it's kind of random because it's not like out in the open, you know. This one as well. I don't think if I would ask my, let's say, people like who are following me on Twitter, like, listen, did you knew about this, you know, event and that is going on every week? I think a lot of people would say, I don't know. I don't know. Because Altspace doesn't have much marketing from the outside. They do have a Twitter account, as far as I know, and they might post this event on there, but it's really, you need to dig for it yourself. So I would just say download like an app like this one, or download VR chat or Rec Room. I did make a video about, I think it was like 20 or 25 different apps that you can use for remote work. So that's meetings, let's say making products in 3D, healthcare things. So almost like everything that you can use to meet up with your colleagues and create your own personal space that works for your business. So that's something you could watch. I think it's around like 20 minutes long.
Cool.
If you search for VR remote apps, you will find it. And then I just cover everything that you can get. So that might be useful. But events like this, I don't know, dude. Like, I didn't even know this one was around. And
yeah,
maybe I should be the one who knows about something like this.
well, we're only 6 weeks old, so we just started 6 weeks ago. So
okay.
It's been very much a
Fair
small
enough.
organic thing thus far. But
Yeah. I don't think the event. I don't think the event here is a problem. It's Altspace itself. I've been using Altspace for a very long time before Microsoft took it over, and now Microsoft took it over. I was really surprised they weren't using it more in their advantage. As you may know, HP just launched their Reverb G2. It's a new PC VR headset, and I said, like, listen, when you get that, you know, headset, when you get a mixed reality headset, it's Microsoft's platform, right? I was like, why don't you use Altspace as the main hub? So you buy the headset and you have your little room in here, and you can customize it a bit, and then you can step out and meet people, because now people download Steam and they go there. So you're already losing the audience. Well, Altspace could be huge if you just link everyone who buys a mixed reality, a Windows mixed reality headset, and just ends up in here. And then this event would be more booming, more people would be talking about, you know, Altspace. But right now, Altspace is really on the lower end of the, let's say, ratings on many stores. Like, it used to be the place to go, and VRChat was next to it, but it was for a different audience, and now you see more competition. So Altspace isn't really the main, you know. I think a lot of people who are now buying Quest 2 have no idea what Altspace even is, and will probably never even find it, because in the ratings it's not there. And it's Microsoft. From all companies, it's Microsoft who got it, who bought it. So they should use this more, but I feel like they're more hosting it, and they're doing some more, like, some updates from time to time. But I mean, this app has still a lot of potential, right? But I don't know. I don't work for Microsoft, but that's just my opinion. I mean, they can use Altspace in their favor for sure.
Yeah, I think that if they're smart, it would be absolutely critical to try to capture Quest 2 buyers right now to come into AltSpace. And that's tricky because right now a lot of people that are getting Quest 2 are going into venues and then probably Horizon eventually, and Facebook has a whole agenda behind that. And they're doing a good job with random social, but events social and professional social and meetups and education and everything. AltSpace to me feels like it's quite a winner in that. Engage is like a close second on the high focus on education and training and conferences, but AltSpace has a very good point right now with the level of user base and the type of devices that it's on at the moment. And I think if they could capture a lot of Quest 2 users that would come into here, this is better, because the ability to create the events and to create the niches and the various communities, the way that AltSpace has it now versus something like venues where you can't even do that, I think is the key to it, because I think people that are coming into here have a certain purpose. From what I'm seeing in AltSpace, we have educators in VR is big, VR creators in general, like right here, this is big. So there's certain communities that are in here, certain creative communities, communities around education in VR, communities around certain things that are in here. And if they keep on fostering that, and if they can reach the people that are on hardware out there, like you said, I think big community, that's not enough marketing, especially to this vast expanding audience that is starting to hit an inflection point with devices like the Quest 2, because the Quest 2 is at that point where it's so amazing, the technology, and the price point is just low, and it's right at that intersection that I think we could have a bit of a takeoff here, Like I think the combination of Quest 2 with AltSpace done right and continuing to focus on keep enhancing those features, keep pushing that as far as it can go, and keep supporting and fostering those communities, this could be the thing,
The best way to actually get people actually in here is I've noticed there's a lot of professionals. I've noticed there's a lot of groups, but with everyone going into lockdown, having support groups for parents and students and the support groups in here, the amount of support groups you can provide in here, that's what's making it take off. People looking for support from each other all over the world and going, hey, I'm not alone. But if you have more parents and like parents groups and safe places for, I know it's not a kid-friendly environment, but more safe spaces for the preteens or the over 13 to 18, where they can go, hey, I'm just out of school. But my son's 13 and he really loves this thing, but I've been looking around here going, what safe spaces are there for him where he's not going to be amongst all these different adults, because adults get a Quest more than a child would. But it's one of those things where family spaces created here might actually bring more people to the environment to be able to talk during lockdown and go, hey, lockdown sucks, what can we do? Let's play a game. Let's talk to each other.
But everything that is useful is in here. It's just not visible on the surface. And the thing what you're saying sounds great. I totally agree. It needs to be more visible, and if it's good for the people, then promote it more. The thing you forget is that Oculus owns, or Facebook owns, the Oculus platform.
And that's going to be the difficulty.
So Facebook Horizon, it will be like this. Listen, it's very easy. It's like Facebook Horizon, that's where you should join. And if there's anything, if you, for example, have seen the marketing this year at Facebook Connect, Steam, for example, doesn't exist really. It's there's only Oculus. And that's the same with their apps. Their apps will be the first that will show up in front of you, and not AltSpace. Although AltSpace does still have a good chance to be visible, because Microsoft is not a competitor to Facebook just yet, at least not on the VR side. But who knows? Maybe they are working on something. But that's the problem, and I don't think Altspace will completely. And that's where Microsoft, HP should stop making PC VR headsets, should jump into the standalone VR market, make something,
absolutely,
and not only make something, because everyone seems to be able to make a headset, but also make the platform, make the software, make the games,
all
invest money into
inclusive,
it, everything. But right now, that's not reality. You know, it's only Facebook who does it. Who knows? Maybe it's Microsoft who's gonna do it next. So maybe it's Amazon. Maybe it's Huawei. Maybe the Chinese are gonna do it first. I wouldn't be surprised. And that's where Altspace could lift onto that and be like, listen, this is not the main thing.
Parenting groups, because
Or
I've
maybe
noticed
it's gonna
a
happen
lot
with AI, where it's like
people
Altspace will now also be an AI
a lot
app.
of parents
It's just gonna be cross-platform and get more people in there. But yeah, I think that's why Altspace isn't really, you know, getting seen that much. But I think a big part is Microsoft's responsibility. You know, I feel like they bought it, just buy it, and now it's like, what is your roadmap? I've been asking them many times, like, do a character update, nice, but what is your roadmap? What do you want to do with this app? Like, what is your goal? Because right now it's like, yeah, okay, it's a living thing, but if you just keep it this way, you're gonna be too late, or you kind of missed the boat.
Exactly.
But I've
Some
also
degree.
got that youth room.
The fact that I'm in here seems like a year or so. Says it all, because I used to be in here like almost every day. It's like the main thing to go into. But now with Quest 2, it's like I barely hear anyone talk about Altspace.
Not yet, but that's why I'm here, sort of to do the introduction. So if people actually know who to talk to about trying to create these sort of restriction blocks, and
this has a lot of parallels too, also to when you think about progressive web app PWAs versus apps in app stores, right? So right now we're hoping even just for a competition amongst the greats, right? So if Microsoft would compete against Facebook, if there'd be competition at least amongst the greats, so we'd have a few of these out there. And then the best case scenario is if we could take like OpenXR and start making some open platforms where it's not, you know, controlled by any company or whatever. That'd be the best case scenario. So, but I see what you're saying too. It's like even to just get to that world, it's like we already need competition amongst tech right now, and we need to start fostering the open you know, to try to take us there. We should have like a open AR cloud, you know, open XR. Like we should be pushing all of these like type of technologies to see if maybe we could just have this in web, you know, to where like no corporate, like distributed. And that seems the way of the future. The spatial web, the web 3.0 should be something that is less walled garden, more distributed, you know, type of thing. So we also need to push along those efforts too, in addition to having competition amongst big tech for these audiences and whatever, you know. So
not true. I like a healthy ecosystem is very important. We'll see when it's gonna happen. You do, of course, like you do see smaller companies like HTC and HP and smaller still, you know, doing something in the VR market. It's nice that they are there because they are keeping it kind of, you know, balanced,
competitive.
But yeah, they're not really competitive. I don't think they're really competing. Maybe a little small percentage. I think the Quest wiped the whole board clean. It's like Game of Thrones season 1, the first episode ends straight away. That's kind of Quest 2. And you can see everyone now uses that headset to make content, to do like it's like even in my you know, field on YouTube, the Quest 2 is the only thing that is relevant. So you need to know that. Let's say I play, I don't know, a game, Half-Life, and I play it. I say, hey, I play Half-Life Alyx on the Valve Index, or I play Half-Life Alyx on the Pimax, or Refurb G2, or the Vario, or even more expensive. You know, there's so many expensive headsets. The Stadia. It's like no one cares. No one watches that stuff. And if there are people watching, it's that niche audience that we still call the early adopters. But if you do Quest 2, it's like, bam, the whole system explodes. And why is it exploding on, for example, YouTube? It's because Facebook buys ads all the time. They're buying, like, we have never seen so many ads on videos. Like Quest 2 is freaking everywhere. Everywhere you Google, Quest 2 pops up because they're investing a lot of money. Well, when
the cheapest
launches
and
ads,
easiest to
you
set
don't
up.
see that.
The fact that you can
So
just
that
plug it
drives-
in and it's $300 and that's it. I know a lot of people that have the other headsets and play. Like if I'm playing Population 1, they play on their Quest just because it's easier to set up, even when they have other headsets that are more advanced. You know.
So that marketing that they do in terms of advertisement, let's say they're now partnering with NBA. They have billboards, they do TV commercials, they have ads on YouTube videos, they have ads on Facebook, they have ads just next to you what you're browsing, and that increases the sales, but it also increases my revenue on YouTube, because of course when I make a Quest 2 video, citizens are like, hey, Quest 2, let's put more ads on that. It's the same when, for example, a new Spider-Man movie comes out and I make a Spider-Man VR video. It's like, oh, people want to go to the movie, let's put that ad on the video. So it grows in views and it grows in revenue. And it's the same for devs. If you want to now sell a game or you want to sell an app, you put it on Quest because that's where the biggest audience is. Although you, of course, also want to make sure that you're not completely, reliable on Facebook. But it's the only thing you can do right now. It's the only option. You can also say, I'm this Rambo in the boots and I'm not doing it. But then I would wait another 5 years and then try again in the VR scene. But right now, if you want to survive as a business, you're gonna kind of, use the Quest 2 as leverage. And the Quest 2 is a great device. I think it's doing a lot of good for the VR industry. But I do wish it would have been just, the Quest 2 and something else next to that too,
Absolutely, it would
like
be nice.
Xbox and PlayStation, where it's still kind of balanced out.
Well, if you look at what has come out in market share data and all that, it seems that kind of Oculus and PSVR, right? PlayStation VR, those are the two biggest things that are out there, pretty much, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
So
But it would be nice if there was even more diversity, Yeah.
No, true. So it's interesting where the VR industry is right now. It's of course a part of the market maturing. I think this had to happen at some point. And I mean, you gotta salute Facebook for showing their interest in VR and being the first.
Yeah.
Because
Well, you know what I think? You know what I think is. What I think is part of that too is that if Facebook hadn't done that, then they're just owning something that they could very easily lose. That's very temporary, which is they're just owning like social as a platform, right? Whereas you look at all the other tech giants, right? They have a hardware basis, right? Google has Android, Apple has iOS and has their hardware devices behind that, right? And Google has their hardware devices behind that. Facebook didn't really have anything of a hardware play. So the way that I see it, and as a strategic business move, is that they actually wanted this not only because we all know that like Web 3.0, spatial web, like this is what's kind of coming up. This would seem to be the thing that makes sense in the progression of where things are headed. So you would want to have something, have something for that future game and actually have a hardware platform around it, and you could own the whole thing. You could have the software, the hardware, the whole thing, and then we just have to make sure that as all those things are progressing, that the stuff like what Mozilla is doing with Mozilla Hubs and that the Open XR and that the open standards are moving along with that, so we kind of keep having that along for the ride as well, because the danger here is the same danger of the past of, like I was saying, the current analogy to having just open web, which is what the web was supposed to be, right? Where people just find you through a search engine or whatever, and you're not on a particular platform. You could have a progressive web app, which is a full-blown mobile app with pretty much almost everything that a native app can do, and you have that as a PWA, as opposed to, I got to be in the App Store. Being in App Store should only be something that you do for distribution purposes, for, here's easy access to more discoverability, in
then
there, but
being
I
a
should
content
also be
creator, and
discoverable
especially when
on
you
the
speak
open web. And that's the
out
thing with
of
VR is that I would
because he
like
gets the stats on the
virtual
data,
reality
right, on his YouTube
experiences
videos.
to be still
there is like
open
been
and to
discussions
be
if Quest
accessible
is
that
the
way would be
first
nice.
best
Which right now we're
or
not in
not,
that
but I
reality.
think
Right
he
now
really
we're in
part of it
the
with
reality
explaining
of,
that
you know, like you're
you
saying,
can
the
make something
Oculus
for
store,
YouTube.
and like hopefully
If
somebody
it's Quest,
discovers Alt
you
Space
get lots
VR,
of
But
views,
and it's only
but
through.
Quest
Yeah,
doesn't
you're
get
right,
any
but that
views
will
almost
result
because
into a
everybody's
more
buying
open
Quests.
VR because
And I
VR
have
was
Quests.
first
Yeah.
open VR.
Yeah,
Now
so it's
it's
pretty cool.
closed VR for a part,
Yeah.
but
And
because
I'm
of
gonna
that, it
try
will
to
also open up again
listen a little
because
bit
it
more what
creates
you have to say.
opportunities.
You should join.
yeah.
So
Oh,
I think
sorry,
I think that Facebook needs to be in the market
Yeah,
for
it's
a
really,
part because
really
otherwise
cool
the
to listen.
VR scene wouldn't be functioning
Yeah, I
the way
came
it does
yesterday.
now.
It's very nice
Yeah.
again.
So I think it's totally normal that
It's
this
a
is
very
all
nice
happening.
crowd
It's just
in this
that
space. I
it's just
really
kind of
like it.
hard to
You work with
be
VR?
only able to buy one thing, and
No,
that's
I'm
all you can
actually
recommend.
working
You
more
know,
in
Yeah.
branding.
and that's something that we kind of need
Like
to
personal
get through.
branding
You know, it's
and
like saying, hey, you buy a console, you buy a PlayStation, and Nintendo
personal
and
and
Xbox do
business
not
branding,
exist,
but
right?
not on the
It's like,
design,
Yeah.
but
something
on
of
the
this is it.
personality
There
of
is
the
Well,
actually
you know there will be
and
more. You
because I
know
have
that
a
there will
very
be a
strong
Nintendo, and
interest
you
in
know there will
VR,
be an Xbox.
and
And that's
I
something
think
that is
branding
unique
will
about
move
VR. That
this
there's
way.
one, just
So
one
I'm
headset
trying to
to
learn
rule
more
them all
about
right
it
now.
and see if there's any way I can
Yeah.
help
So,
some startups.
yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen.
And
Yeah.
get involved
Indeed,
and
yeah.
just passionate about this world. I think it's the future and it's very interesting. So, so yeah, that's why I come. And you?
Cool. No, I work with 3D printing. So I bought
Okay.
VR because I want to try to model in 3D. Haven't done it yet, but I think it's cool, VR. I've mostly been
Yeah.
using it for social stuff, so I think it's really fun, and I met a lot of cool people there.
There's a few
What-
people who come to Spatial
What I
Ape who
like
are
too
from
is
the 3D
like
printing environment. I've
companies
met someone
and
yesterday
projects
as
that
well
try to
who is
build
in
a bridge
this
between the
area.
worlds as well. I think
Yeah.
that's important
It's also
because
a
some
growing,
people will have a
very
VR
growing
headset right now
industry.
and they're understanding the
definitely.
value add of it
pretty
and the
big.
potential
So
in
one
it,
thing I
and
don't
they want to spread
understand,
it to
sorry, I
other
might
people.
be
And even prior
ignorant.
to doing that,
One
ways in
thing I
which you
don't
could do that
understand
is by
about
building the
3D
bridge, right?
printing.
So
Is
like
it
little
just
things
object,
like,
or
hey,
can you
what if
also
one
do
person
fabrics,
on
for
our
example, for
10-person
fashion
Zoom
or
call is
anything
coming
like
in from a
this?
VR headset and we see their VR
Yeah,
avatar
so
and they're
3D
like
printing,
saying,
it's-
hey, there's some
The thing
merit
is
to
that
this. This
when
is
it comes to,
interesting.
for
This is
example,
like something else.
textiles
And so you want to create
it's a lot of
integrations where you
different
still
methods.
integrate the two-dimensional web
so-
world, Web 2.0 world that we're used to, whatever, and try to kind of like cross that
Textiles,
into
they
here. And
are
so that
like
was the interesting
2D
thing
anyhow,
too
you know,
with
because they're woven.
OpenXR allows that and Mozilla Hubs. If you
So
make
we're
a
still not
Mozilla
a 3D
Hub and
printing,
you're in
but
it with
there
your
are
VR
people
headset,
who
you
are
can send a link
making
to a
number
person on a
one,
smartphone and they see your funny little 3D avatar running around and they can
shells, as
interact
people do.
as much as they can through a 2D
Sort of
screen,
the
not as well as
zippers
you
and the
can
buttons
with your
and,
VR
on those
controls
stuff,
and
there's a
everything,
lot of 3D
but there's a
printing
bridge
on
that
the
is built back to
personalization.
the other
But,
world.
as long
So,
as textile
and we
is
have
fiber,
bridges to the worlds even in
it's,
here, right? So
I've
if you
seen
can
some
bring
people
up
have tried
a
to print and
two-dimensional
have used,
pane
like,
of here's YouTube, here's a
flexible
browser,
plastic, for
and we
example,
put this
and
on
you
a
can do
wall,
that. For
or
example,
let's say I've
something
got
more
a
like
company that
latex
makes
or
a web
silicone
application
clothing.
that's two-dimensional, Web
I
2.0,
think
and I got some new Web
fibers are
3.0
gonna
stuff
be
going on, and I
woven
exhibit
fibers
it
are
here
gonna
in one of
be
these rooms,
the
and you
future
can
for a long
experience
time.
both. So we kind of have to
Yeah,
build
because,
even the bridges between the
as a
two,
hobby, I'm
and
also
that's
an
also a
artist. I've
way
actually
of
done
increasing the
exhibitions.
adoption and
But when I was younger, I wanted to
crossing
do
like the
fashion
two
design, and I
audiences,
tried
you
to
know, it's
brush.
like
And
I
I've
think that's an
designed some
essential
clothes,
part
and
of
some
it
people
too.
said, "Oh wow, that's very nice what you designed." And I was wondering if one day I could try to just print it.
No, but that's
like the
sort
apps
of
that
a
people
little
made
bit.
because
Yeah,
They don't
basically,
call
like
that
if you look
printing, but
over
I
here,
do
like look
believe
at
there are some
Tribe
people
XR
working on there.
is
That's more
essentially
weaving
this
machines
is a
or
very interesting one. I
woven
really like
machines
this idea
who
here.
can do this 3D model.
Yeah.
I'm not so familiar with that, but yeah, I've heard about that. That's also maybe you can call that 3D printing too, because there are all these different methods, which is yeah.
That's an
And then you
amazing
have
thing that now you can.
yeah.
Yes.
You have now it's the most normal thing today. It's PLA. So it's a glue gun, really. It's just a really high precision glue gun who prints like like, but then you have lasers. and yeah, that's the biggest ones today. Way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, cool.
That's a very interesting area. I should study it more. Just by pure interest. I like
Yeah.
anything that is going to be used in the future.
If you're into models, 3D models, plastic models, if you ever wanted to make anything with that, it's definitely the Ender 3.
Right.
Yeah, the Ender 3 is like the Quest of the 3D printer industry. It's because the thing about the problem with 3D printing until the Ender 3 was that it was really much early adapters game, like Nate were talking about. So you had to be it was you had to constantly tune your machine. Results were never perfect, a lot of problem all the time, but the Ender 3, you buy it in a kit, it's 6 parts, it takes 10 minutes to put together, and after you have leveled the bed, it works every time. So it's pretty nice.
A real usage for that. That's what I say.
That's very, very interesting. So you never
And it
be
costs
out of work.
$230 or
You'll never be out of work with what you do.
I don't know.
Oh, AI
Because
maybe.
that's
We start to-
the thing is, 3D printer is it feels like it's about to take off.
Yeah.
It's still mostly a hobby thing,
Yeah.
but there is the ABS plastic. It's two types of plastic. One is PLA, and it's really only useful for things that don't have to. The biggest problem is sunlight. So most of the plastics have had they get crisp and crack in sunlight. But there is this new ABS, or it's not new, but the ABS is getting pretty good now. So I know some people who have. So this is 2 years old ABS, but he have had it in the sun now outside for 2 years, and it still looks as good as before. So then we're starting to talk when you can actually make things that last.
Wow. Yes, because yesterday there was someone who works in 3D printing, and he was talking about. So I understood half of it because he was extremely technical, speaking about batteries, and so it was very hard for me to follow. But basically, from what I understood, he was talking about how 3D printing can help with building houses, for example, in the emerging world, and so that is very interesting.
Yeah, that one also is a bit interesting. It's a bit also a little bit discussed in the 3D printing community, because there is this thing when we're talking about big, simple structure, casting is always going to be faster. Sort of. So that might happen, that the people who believe in macro printing might end up being right. But I think that as a general, you won't see houses being printed in a long time. Yeah, because it's so much faster to just pour. That's the thing. The problem with the 3D printing is that it has to come out of the nozzle. So it's the speed of getting out of the nozzle compared to casting. And when you're casting concrete and a lot of this stuff that these houses are built of, you really just have to have a shape with some wooden plates. But again, that's just my opinion on the matter. I know a lot of people are working on this, making houses and stuff with 3D printers, and I hope they can make it. But yeah.
Every business has always debates on how people think
Yeah.
about it. It's like in branding, there's so many debates as well of what is actually branding, and many people have different versions about it, and so I think sometimes you just have to go with what you firmly believe, and usually it's what works best.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Oh.
it's Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, yeah, that's for me. I work with something that is desktop size anyhow, so for me it doesn't matter. But it's fun to do the debate, and I like that people are trying. But I'm gonna be a little bit skeptic till I see the real results.
How old are you?
Me, I'm
just
30.
wondering if you're... Sorry?
30.
Junior.
30,
Junior.
okay.
How old are
Now,
you?
I
Yeah.
was just wondering from your generation how you think, and
Are you
because I
enjoying this
guess also
space?
different generations have different views on
Well, my
this.
daughter's
Yeah.
10. She's your
Mm.
age.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like when you're born in the 1990, you're sort of in the cross mix. I think that
yeah, you've seen the changes.
yeah, and it's because I got my first computer with internet in like 1997 and I was 7 years old, so I'm maybe of the first generation who has
Seen the evolution.
grown up, yeah, with
You've got the
Google
wisdom.
and yeah. But at the same time, I have a intern which is 20, so 10 years younger than me, and in my generation I was an early adapter, but I can see the ones who are 10 years younger, they are a lot more into this stuff than my age. And not that many of my friends are into VR and 3D printers and all that stuff. But it seems like a lot more of the ones that are younger. For example, Discord. I try to get my friends group. We have a chat with many people, but I didn't manage to get them on Discord. If you've tried Discord?
Not yet actually, but I know everybody's there, so I have to start joining it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot better because it's everything, you know? But that's sort of too much for most of my friends. They still want to have the chat. That's enough, you know, the one
It's more
chat
the
or a
geek
Facebook
world.
group.
Yeah, it's more the geek world Discord, which
No,
is why in
it's
a way.
younger.
Oh, is it
It's for
younger as well?
yeah, that's the thing. It's because that's when my intern on 20, everybody of her friends uses
So it's
Discord.
not just the geek area, then it's also other topics. Then
Yeah, the thing about Discord, is that Discord is very private.
It's a bit like
So
Reddit, isn't it?
no, it's the opposite of Reddit, sort of.
Oh,
Because
really?
Reddit is open, but on the Discord server you need an invite.
Right.
So for example, say usually I don't know where he went now. Yeah, I'm in this guy's Discord server, Nathie, and then you can get a Discord server link from YouTubers. It's usually YouTubers that has them, or people you play games with. That's usually the most normal thing, you know. I have a couple of friends I game with, and we have our Discord group, and then we do voice chat there. And
is it why YouTubers have so many views? Is it because of Discord or?
yeah, it's important, very important for a lot of YouTubers. Not everybody, but if you want to have a really good community, Discord is like number one.
And does it work with art and music as well, or just like more like gaming and technology?
My favorite Discord group is about the math. That's a Discord group I really like. That's pretty cool.
That's interesting. I should go there, but yeah, there's so many different platforms now. It's like the internet has become tribal.
Very much.
Very much,
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you follow somebody on usually Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or whatever, if you see the link to a Discord, it could be cool to join. I would really recommend it, because if you see the link, the thing about Discord, that's why it's so private, is that the link stops working. So if you see a Discord link, press it, join it, see if it works, or if you like it, jump on it. That's my recommendation there.
I will definitely check it because Spatial Ape yesterday told me also that a lot of VR people are in Discord, like a lot of VR startup people, and
Then
I have a lot of interest in stuff.
And that's something that a lot of developers want to be in that position, because that gives you the opportunity to create something better and better. And then when the moment is there, then you can also split up and be like, hey, now I can stand on my own legs and then start doing whatever I want to do. It's almost like as a developer, you need to make like a bad Hollywood movie until you can make a good one. So yeah, it's hard. It's like I don't even have an answer on how you get on that store. In my opinion, a lot of apps that have potential that I see on SideQuest that have like this polish to it. I'm like, why are they not on the store? Why are they not on the main store?
Southern Cross is another example.
Yeah, this is like one of the best apps I've played, and they can't get on the store.
Yeah, no, but
and it's making a ton of money as well.
Yeah. At first, the rumors, like that's where it started. The rumors were, yeah, but the apps are, what was it again? Yeah, they couldn't make people motion sick because when it first started, you had To the Top, I think, was the first one who mentioned this, saying like, listen, we can't get onto the store. It's like this parkour game, and we were like, on the podcast we said like, listen, this game is not necessarily ready for consumers because they do get motion sick. So we were like, okay, sure, we kind of get it. But then when I went to Facebook Connect and I spoke to certain developers who worked with Oculus since DK1 or who sold like thousands of copies and made them a lot of money, were suddenly also getting cut off. I don't know what happened there. I think they want to really create their own content to a big
the
degree, to a
politics of
certain
it.
degree. Yeah, also, it's a mix of all kinds of things. But that gives the opportunity to when there will be a new platform from someone else, a lot of people's like, hey, wait, you want to accept mine? It's the same with Steam. If you want to publish something on Steam, it's easier than, and with Sony, it's different too again. So that way it kind of, balances it out and every platform gets something. Because I don't think like opening the floodgates completely is also not a great idea.
I mean, imagine the point is if you were Facebook and you are putting out now, let's say 1 million devices or 2 million devices, and people are buying them. So you have a user base of 2 million people that are casually or permanently, however, using that thing. Just by creating your own apps, your own content, the possibilities for you to make money, it's not just selling the app once, but having partners. They can do whatever kind of advertising in there, right? Let's say you make a racing app or something like a racing game, and you can place whatever. If we have 1 million players or 200 or 400,000 every day, you can place virtual advertisement in there. Just when you have the finger on it, if you have the control over the content and who's doing it, that's the point. And if you are anyways the guy, person, company who's owning the stuff and can control it, well, I think that's in the end the big point for them.
Yeah.
Yep. Although there will come a tipping point where I think at some point people are going to more appreciate having diversity of experience on the platform, and they're going to buy whatever headset has more apps. But we're just not there yet.
Not yet, yeah.
No, it's a bit dangerous to kind of do that right now because, as I said, people get motion sick. Some apps are just not ready for the big public. So it's also a way to kind of protect the, because the headset the Quest 2 gets advertised in a way where it's really a console with, the best games, nothing funky going on with bugs or things that just move in a way that would make you sick. So the approach is totally right. But it's just it's funny to me that they kind of forgot their own roots because Oculus Share is what Oculus created themselves, and SideQuest is Oculus Share now. But that's of course from a different era because most people who worked for Oculus are now gone anyways. So Yeah. But I think, yeah, SideQuest is definitely something that needs to exist in the long run, for devs, especially
Yeah, I guess
devs.
it's a balance. It's an important balance as well. Having the ecosystem that Oculus are trying to like bringing kids onto the platform, bringing everybody onto the platform, having safe experiences that don't make you motion sick, but at the same time
Yeah.
trying to foster grassroots development. Those are two different things that aren't always, don't work well together sometimes. But at the
Yeah.
moment, from my perspective, it seems like they're going too far one way. They're going too far down the route of having a very heavily curated store that doesn't support grassroots development. And it seems like they're missing out on a lot of opportunities.
Well, the big
Yeah,
question
but
would be,
yeah, true.
what would happen if there was no side quest? What would Facebook have done if there was no side quest? Because I think it was very good for them that side quest popped up and was really
Oh yeah.
successful, because people had this sandbox to play around. But what would they have set it up something like a sandbox by themselves? I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, the thing is, Facebook was the one who created SideQuest in the end because of their moderation this way.
Yeah.
The opportunity got created for SideQuest to pop up, and that's why it's also so popular, because it's exactly the thing that Facebook wasn't doing. Now they are going to do it, but the way you see Facebook usually doing things is that they learn from other devs and then they use that to create their own version of it.
Yeah.
And that's the same with SideQuest. They're now creating their own SideQuest to the point where SideQuest might not be necessary anymore. So again, it's on their and so yeah, SideQuest was there. They created SideQuest without them knowing it. They created, like as I said, Oculus Share, um, something that is super welcome.
I really like this space.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Right.
Do
I
you
don't think
spend
they even
Nate?
knew. I don't think they even knew about it. I don't even think they knew that Oculus Share was so successful, and they totally underestimated how many consumers would like to have something like that. So yeah, now they're finally waking up and doing it themselves.
What headset do you have?
Do you stay up to date on kind of the new SideQuest apps yourself?
I'm writing at the same time.
Yes, I do check it out from time to time. I'm not like heavily invested into it because I make like content for mainly the consumer market. SideQuest is more of something that you have to download as an extra. So I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. But yeah, SideQuest is definitely something to kind of see what's out there, what's different, what's unique, what's innovative. So I'm using it that way, but I'm not really advertising it to consumers that much.
Well, I guess this is one of the big changes in Q1 2021 is that you won't have to, as a consumer, you won't have to register as a developer and
Yeah.
basically
Yeah,
hack
yeah,
your
yeah.
headset a little bit to get
Yeah,
content on.
true.
You can just download it directly.
Yeah, no, and that's why I never really promoted it, because I thought it was like the system showed that it was broken. It's like you need to first up create a fake company that doesn't exist. It's already illegal by itself. It's not like
Yeah.
the FBI is gonna show up at your door, but it's like the system. It just shows that your system it doesn't make any sense. So you lie basically, and then you hack into your Quest. And it got to the point now where people were, of course, hacking Beat Saber too for the songs. Well, Facebook took it over, so you got also these like piracy issues. So they had to
Yeah.
kind of, end it somewhere and close it down. So I'm happy that they're doing it now, because now it will be a safe environment for people to at least get apps running. But again, as I said, I think they're going to moderate the apps. So there will be again a platform that does the same thing, because there's never a legal way to do something that SideQuest is doing in the the broad range. It's like it's a bit like the Pirate Bay or something, but then with like content that is free. You know what I mean? The Pirate Bay is also a big part of the internet. If you like it or not, it exists. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Like as I said, I'm not making apps, but I don't know. I think I would be in the same boat because I've seen so many devs who had like great relationships with Facebook that are now not able to publish something on that platform. So it doesn't really matter necessarily who you are, but it really depends on where you are at that
Context.
certain moment and what you make. And um, yeah, it's a smaller group. I wouldn't call it an inner circle, but it definitely became smaller. Yeah, yeah.
The developer of the CEO of To the Top, which we were talking about, he was in here a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago, and we asked
Yeah.
him, we were like, well, if you could tell us definitively, how do you navigate this Facebook process? And he's like, well, there's really only one way to answer that, and is you should not depend on Facebook for your business. And that was his whole answer.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, you shouldn't depend on any business completely, 100%.
Definitely. Not
You
on
know?
big companies where
No,
you have no
so
control.
it's the same for me. I don't want to depend on Google because if they don't give me enough revenue anymore, then I'm screwed. So instead, I'm spreading it out and doing things outside of the platform because like every business needs to do that. You just can't do that. Like even if you want to grow fast, I know it's easier to be like, oh, let's just go for Quest 2. That's it. You also need to invest time into Sony. You need to invest time into HTC or others because it's not smart. I know that it's like you see the money and you see the relevancy and you see the potential of your company, but growing fast doesn't necessarily mean a healthy business. So, yeah.
Totally.
And when you see Google and Facebook, I did a project for some broadcasting stations, and I did something like an application, just a Windows application for curating social media content for broadcastings, so they could put it into their news
Cool.
and stuff like that. But the problem was in 2018 when Facebook started to cut the API down heavily, right?
Yes.
All the data that I implemented, like getting pictures for the journalists so they can take them or use them or refer to them or whatever, all that functions are gone. It's not possible to use them anymore because
Yeah,
they
and
cut it
that's
off
one
the
of the
endpoints.
terrible things. Yeah, like they'll suddenly update an API with breaking changes, right? So it would probably be like the next major API or something like that, and then suddenly a bunch of data is cut out of it, and then you
Yeah.
either have to pay for that data or the data is not available anymore. And that's usually the natural progression of these things. Like if you another one, what was it? Twitter. Twitter used to have
Twitter, yeah.
so much data available. You used to be able to see any tweet that came out and it had some media attached to it. You could be like,
Yeah.
oh, this photo just came from this geographic location. And you could have
Yeah,
built
Fire
like a whole
hose.
app on that. Like, hey, here's photos coming out of this event, a concert that's going on. These people are tweeting this stuff from here. And that app would be completely broken in like the next version of the API. And then they came
Yeah.
out with like the fire hose API, and then you have to like pay for having the content or whatever. And that's the natural progression of those things, because in the beginning they're just like, oh, we're happy to just
You can
have any
use
kind
it.
of users, and they're creating the content, they're creating the value of our company in that content. But once they reach a level where it's like, oh, now we have so much of it, why are we even giving
Yeah.
it away for free? We can now charge for what our users gave us for free or whatever, so that's how those things go. But yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Twitter API was a similar story.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
I was an intern at a big data company in 2015, right when I was getting started in software, and they were depending on a couple endpoints from Twitter and Facebook, and basically the API structure was changed during my internship, and the whole company like stopped in its tracks and basically failed.
Yeah.
Wow.
That can
That's
totally
bad.
happen. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. And when you think about Beat Saber, I'm really curious because if you're depending also on content of other people like music, or maybe you make a film quiz, would be nice. Like you could get together with the film industry and say, you have new movies, great, give me your trailers. I will make a quiz with those trailers. Like, virtually reenacting of two scenes, and people have to guess what's happening next. I don't know, stuff like that. But still, you're definitely, with all your stuff, you are dependent on those other companies. If they don't want this to go on in the future, they just cut you off with all the work that you invested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Guys, I just had a great idea looking at this model. You know those like viral videos of like they cut into something like it's like a turkey and then it ends up being a cake inside? You know what I'm talking about? We need a VR app like just for that. So it's like you can load up like anything. Like here's like the Ferrari, F250, and then you cut into it and it's like it's always cake.
And then you can eat it with your friends.
Yeah.
No, you can't eat it. All you can do is cut into it and look at it.
Oh, you have to stare at it.
Or think about this, the TV show. I don't know. You probably have that in the US. That explains what happens next, or what would you do? Like you are in a situation, someone is attacking you, or you are in a car crash. What's the next thing to do? If you have 10 options what you can do, and one will kill you, the other one will hurt you. There's just one option that is correct to get out of this situation. Stuff like that. You could do that easily in a VR situation app, let's say.
Yeah, well, that's kind of similar to the Survivor app that was demonstrated last week. The kind of the first responders, how do they respond to certain situations, making scenarios and seeing how what their first reactions are and what the proper response should be.
Yeah, in a fighting situation, in their case, I think it's a combat situation, isn't it?
In that case, yeah, it's like police and ambulance crews, and they turn up to the scene and the scene is laid out before them in VR and they're trained on what to do next.
You know another crazy idea I just had? Now I'm just going fully off the rails, but we need like an ASMR VR app. Like if just like everything in the scene like sounded like incredible. You got that? Like you could like rub your feet against the carpet or like open like a Ziploc bag or something.
I like it, yeah. And binaural kind of spatial audio as well would work well with that. Or just a alt space experience where everybody has to whisper and like kind of really ASMR whispering.
We should just do that one of these weeks, like not even program it, just like, and then like get really upset with people that are speaking at normal volume.
That's like walking into a library.
Yeah, exactly. Just like see if they catch on or not.
Yeah. Or this in Germany we call it a silent post, when someone is whispering a message into the ear of the first person, and that one is whispering the same message to the next one, and in the end, after 10 persons, you will hear what's getting out of it, and everyone changed something. You could do something like a talk here, and then every person has to bypass it to the next one, and in the end, you can hear what's the message that came out of that talk, basically.
Yeah.
That'd be really funny. Banana phone in VR. That'd be great.
Banana phone in VR.
Is that what it's called in America? Banana phone.
I've never. What is it called in the UK?
Well, we call it Chinese whispers, but I don't think that's
Chinese
whispers. That's a little bit racist, I
think. And Germany is silent post. You said, Chris?
Silent post. Yeah. Stille Post. Yeah.
Yeah, we call it banana phone.
A peer-to-peer network with low quality of service.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that could be the whole app. It's like chat, but the audio doesn't quite work, so you're just like constantly guessing what each other is saying. That would get accepted at the Oculus Store.
Or you could sell something like an add-on here. If you don't like a person, you can jam his voice, so it sounds like he's breaking up, but basically his voice is okay.
Oh man, I do hope, in all seriousness, that AltSpace can develop to the point where we have a robust plug-in ecosystem, because there's so many things that developers could do that are modular.
Oh yeah. Accessibility is so important. Like even like when you're creating anything, even like as a programmer, whether you're creating a platform or some kind of framework, whenever making it very robustly like extensible is one of the key things to really making it successful. Like having a plug-in system to the thing that you're building, I use so many things that have become popular because they had that. That's the way that they reach scale, especially in open source. That's how you're able to scale, because people have the value in the core thing that you've created, and they want to build on top of that. And then they're building on top of that, and the fact that you've made it extensible and made that possible, it brings value to them, and they take it in their direction and whatever. That's key. Having a plugin system, some kind of extensibility is very key to making something auto scale, basically, through the effort of people, really.
I was talking to Robin just a few minutes ago about one of the things I'm working on with my team right now is how to get business cards in here. In a really smooth way, so that all of your sources of reputation, your LinkedIn, maybe even your GitHub, your Discords, your SideQuest score. It would be great to just kind of very fluidly be able to give these to people as you meet them. So we're using the Mixed Reality Extension SDK, which is like the AltSpace plugin SDK, and we've been kind of working through how to make that happen.
That's cool. You just jogged my mind of something. I don't know if you ever saw the Mozilla, I think it was like Open Badges. That's kind of in that territory. You ever seen that, Open Badges?
No, I'll have to look it up.
Open Badges.
Yeah, take a look at that. It was the concept of basically, there's a lot of closed systems where you can have reputation of like, hey, this system says like you've completed this certification or you're skilled in this or that way, so you have a badge for that, right? So how do you do that in an open way to where it's totally like it's trustworthy, but it's like completely open. Anything can say, hey, I give badges for this, and if somebody claims to have had a badge for that, they passed this or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that in a distributed, open, trustworthy way, which really is more like trustless? Like, how do you ensure that the technology itself makes it so that cannot be forged or whatever? Take a look at Mozilla Open Badges, because it's kind of within the territory of maybe what you want to do with that. It reminded me of it. Yeah,
that sounds great. I'll take a look at it. I think in the near term, potentially, the solution from the other end is to have one centralized party that you do trust, which is producing plugins for multiple platforms. So, I mean, one of our thoughts is like, if we can make it work really nice in here, we're also probably going to go implement it on like VR chat. We may try to get other events in AltSpace to use it, so that we can start to become sort of this authoritative source of reputation for doing business in VR, which I think would be really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, that would be really small.
1000%. What's up, Peter?
Hey,
You're
what's up?
everywhere. How you doing?
Right, I'm gonna head off, guys.
You too.
It's getting quite
Just
late
listen,
here.
I was like, dude, hang on.
Okay,
I know
all right, see you, Robin.
See you later. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
This is pretty cool.
All right.
I'll be back.
Nathie, I'm going to pop out too because I've been in here 3 hours, but thanks so much for stopping in. It was great. It's great chatting with you.
Same.
Yeah,
I didn't expect this to end this way.
All right.
Like, I'm gonna silently leave this app again. No one will ever know. But